Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Football Overseas YouTube channel. And this is a prediction for the midweek fixtures, a full programme of fixtures in the EFL Championship. Hot on the heels of a full weekend programme that we've just had. So let's have a look at the league table following that weekend. We got rid of a couple of firsts. Hurrah! And those being that Sheffield United's first defeat, not saying hurrah, but it's their first defeat, and not a disgraceful by any means, losing 2-0 away at Leeds, who are looking pretty good at the moment too. So Sheffield United slipped up for the first time this season. They'll want to put that right in this midweek. And at the other end of the table, Portsmouth got off the mark in the win column as well. They had a good 2-1 win at Queen's Park Rangers, albeit it put Queen's Park Rangers at the bottom of the table, and we'll have a little chat about that as we go through their fixtures, or the fixtures, for this coming week. So yes, the league table is, as I say, starting to take shape. But an interesting fact, I think, not one single team in the Championship is on a winning streak of more than one match. I think that just about sums up how tight the Championship is and how difficult it is to get wins in this league and do it consistently. Quite incredible, really, when you think about that. Think about the consistency that some of the teams have had. It just shows that anybody can beat anybody in this division, and every single match is almost unpredictable, if you like, to a certain degree. So yeah, interesting fact I thought that was. I don't know, I haven't looked through the other divisions to see if it's a unique fact in English football at the moment. But yes, not to have one single team having won their last two matches in this division is quite incredible, I think. But there we have it. So let's get started then for this midweek. We have, as I say, a full programme tomorrow night and Wednesday night. The first match on the list is Cardiff City versus Portsmouth. So Portsmouth go, having got that morale-boosting win at Queen's Park Rangers on Saturday afternoon, they go into another huge match at the bottom of the table as they take on Cardiff. But Cardiff, notably, put more goals past Plymouth on Saturday than they'd scored in the previous 9 games. Yeah, quite incredible that as well. So Plymouth didn't really turn up at all. I mean, they did have a man sent off in the first half. That's always a big ask, to play that amount of time without a full team with a man down. But they were already 2-0 down at the time, so things weren't looking great for them in any event. But we'll talk a bit more about Plymouth when we get to their game. So it's Cardiff on the back of that 5-0 win over Plymouth, taking on Portsmouth. They'll want the Dockyard Derby, as they call it, or the Dockyard Double. Portsmouth and Plymouth both being naval bases. So can Cardiff do the Dockyard Double by beating Portsmouth this midweek? I think they may well do. I think that win, I watched a bit of the game, they were very confident, their finishing was very high, of a high quality. And I think Cardiff will, it won't be easy by any means. Portsmouth will go there with a huge backing of fans, as always, down to South Wales. So it's going to be a good atmosphere under the lights down at the Cardiff City Stadium on Tuesday. But I'm going to take Cardiff just to sneak it, just to back up that win. They need to do that, really, for their own sake, as do Portsmouth need to back up their win. So a real clash here of teams wanting to make a follow-up mark from their games at the weekend. But I'm going to go Cardiff City 2, Portsmouth 1. And then we have listed Leeds versus Watford. As I say, Leeds had an excellent 2-0 win over Sheffield United, and they really did outplay Sheffield United in across the pitch, really, admitted by the Sheffield manager Chris Wilder at the end. There's not very often he's had to say that this season, if at all. So Leeds showing their promotion credentials at the moment, taking on Watford, who had a really poor 3-0 loss to Luton. And perhaps Watford now just starting to, having had that really bright start, just starting to waver a bit. They've had 4 defeats, 2 defeats in the last 3. And I think it's a hard old task to go to Leeds tomorrow on Tuesday night and get anything, and I'm going to take Leeds to put them away on Tuesday. So I'm going to go for Leeds United 3, Watford 0. So we then have Oxford United against Derby. Oxford just picking up those points, an excellent 1-1 draw against West Brom, although West Brom are having a little bit of a blip at the moment. Haven't won in 4, 2 losses, 2 draws. They were in front against Oxford, but Oxford not giving up home points very easily at the moment, and that's where they're picking up. They've had 4 draws on the trot, so they need to break that sequence. However, I'm adding to it in my prediction. I think playing Derby, 2 sides that came up last year, so they'll know quite a bit about each other already. And I think Derby, who drew at Millwall, good point on the road down at Millwall, will pick up another good point, I think, here at Oxford. So I'm going to say Oxford United 1, Derby 1. And if I'm honest, both sides will probably be quite happy with that, to keep that points total just going in an upwards direction. So we'll see how that goes. Oxford 1, Derby 1, my thoughts there. Then we have Preston and Norwich, Preston North End and Norwich City. And Preston had a good 1-0 win over Coventry, and Coventry are having an alarming run at the moment, 4 defeats in 5, and a rather sort of tame 1-0 win at Preston on Saturday. Preston badly needed that. They hadn't. They'd only won 1 of their previous 5, so they just needed to get on the score sheet, particularly at home. And they scraped a 1-0 win. I didn't watch it, so I'm being a bit harsh, but they delivered a 1-0 win and got the 3 points. So they take on Norwich, who are just starting to perk up a little bit after a sluggish start. They're starting to score their goals again, or they did sort of only get the 1 on Saturday and a 1 each draw at Stoke. However, I think they will get their full rewards on Tuesday at Preston. I think Norwich will just be too good for Preston on the night. So I'm going to go Preston North End 0, Norwich City 2 in that one. Then we have Sheffield Wednesday against Swansea City. Sheffield Wednesday lost 2-0 to Burnley, but I didn't see too much of the match. But looking at the stats afterwards, they really did give Burnley a pretty good match. It wasn't as straightforward as a 2-0 may sort of indicate. So they did give a good account of themselves, but you do need something to put on the board to make that count. And sadly, for Sheffield Wednesday, they didn't, and they went down 2-0 to Burnley, who are nestled in second place behind Sunderland at the moment. So Burnley then, Sheffield Wednesday are playing Swansea City. Swansea just limping along a little bit at the moment. No win in 4, 2 draws, 2 losses, and they went down 1-0 to Blackburn. No disgrace in losing away at Blackburn. They're pretty good at home, as we know, and are going pretty well this season generally. But I think Sheffield Wednesday will want to back up their decent performance, although in a losing cause, on Saturday. So I think they will deliver the goods in front of their usual bank of fans that will pack in Hillsborough on Tuesday night. I'm going to take them to take the match by 2-0. So Sheffield Wednesday 2, Swansea 0. That brings us on to Stoke City and Bristol City. Stoke City had that draw with Norwich, which they probably wanted to have backed up that incredible 6-1 performance in their previous home match. But they, as I say, they slipped up. They ended up taking share of the points with Norwich. And Bristol City had a very, very good win at Middlesbrough, given all the backdrop of the sadness that was around the club and during the week, and it's still there, obviously. So they had to go against the backdrop of that. So a very emotional day for everyone concerned at Bristol City. Middlesbrough paid their respects as well, which was very, as I said last week, the football family comes to the fore in these situations, and Middlesbrough played their part in that game, as in that situation as well. but they didn't play their part in the game quite as much as they'd like to have done, because Bristol City took the points 2-0, although Middlesbrough really should have had a couple of goals before Bristol City got on the board. What I saw of the highlights, it was Bristol City riding their luck, but they did that and got two smartly taken goals and saw out the match. And Bristol City will be smarting. I don't know if these things really play on players' minds, but final game of last season, Stoke put them away 4-0. So perhaps Bristol City will go there with a bit of revenge. So I think all in all, it will be another home draw for Stoke. I'm going to take Bristol City to grab an away point and follow up that and have a decent couple of games on the road. And Stoke, again, will be disappointed, I think, to drop points if that happens. So I'm going to go Stoke City 1, Bristol City 1. Takes us to the final game on Tuesday, which is an 8 o'clock over all the others, 7:45 UK time. And it's Queen's Park Rangers against Coventry City. And as I say, Coventry really do need to kickstart their season somehow. They've only won the 2 out of 10. They've just had some disappointing losses as well, losing, as I say, on Saturday quite meekly 1-0 to Preston. But they're on the road to QPR. QPR under all sorts of pressure, 4 defeats on the trot. I completely misread the way they were going to perhaps have their season. I gave them a bit of a shout for being one of the surprise teams. Well, they're surprising me in completely the wrong direction, unfortunately for them. But they've had 4 defeats on the trot now, and gave, as we said earlier, Portsmouth their first win on the road, or first win at all. But it was also their first win, obviously, on the road on Saturday. And having taken the lead as well, they couldn't push that home. Portsmouth came back, a fantastic following as they do up at Loftus Road. And Queen's Park Rangers fans are not happy bunnies, as you would expect. However, all is not lost. It's a win would probably take them out the bottom 3. However, I just have a feeling Coventry are going to dig deep on Tuesday night and will sort of add to Queen's Park Rangers' woes, if you like. And I can see Coventry nicking them the points, as did Portsmouth on Saturday. And I'm going to do it by the same scoreline. I'm going to go Queen's Park Rangers 1, Coventry 2. That takes us into the 5 games scheduled for Wednesday. It starts off with a really good game, actually, on paper. Let's hope it delivers. Blackburn Rovers against West Bromwich Albion. So 6th against 5th, effectively. Both teams on 18 points. As I say, West Brom haven't won in 4. They've just lost their way a little bit. And it's their goal scoring that seems to have dried up to a degree. And Blackburn, strong at home, have put some good performances at home. So they'll want to maintain that, having beaten, sort of moved edge past Swansea at the weekend. West Brom had that draw against Oxford. Oxford equalising quite late on after West Brom had a 1-0 lead. So I think Blackburn will actually show up and do the stuff as they do at home. I'm going to just take them to nick it and extend West Brom's winless run. I'm going to go Blackburn Rovers 2, West Brom 1. Now, that brings us on to Hull City, who have lost the last couple, conceding goals, although they only conceded one on Sunday, it was actually, against Sunderland, but it meant Sunderland maintained their top spot, proudly at the top, after 10 matches, and that's when you start to think, well, are these teams now in the sections of the divisions where they're going to spend a good chunk of the season? We shall see on all of fronts, really. But 10 games is a good yardstick, and Sunderland are nicely top. So Hull faced Sunderland, and Sunderland turned up and delivered a 1-0 win for themselves. Hull at home again to Burnley, so couldn't have asked for a tougher couple of home games to experience in the space of 4 days. So they've got to pick themselves up. I think Burnley will go there and just do their job. They're looking pretty good. They've only let in 4 goals in 10 matches. It's them and Sheffield United have by far and away the best defences in the division, and I think it'll be another clean sheet for Burnley. They might not, and I'm going to take them to score a couple as well, or more than a couple. I'm going to say it's going to be Hull City 0, Burnley 3 on Wednesday night there. Then we come to the table toppers, Sunderland, who visit Luton. Now, Luton, yes, perhaps, well, they rested a little slide. They had a couple of wins, then they had a mini slump and over 2 losses and a draw. Then they recovered themselves at the weekend, fresh from the international break. And they put Watford away 3-0 in what is that local derby on the foot of the M1 there. So I think Luton will give a good account of themselves against Sunderland. Their home fans will demand that, and they want to follow up the Saturday performance. But I think Sunderland have withstood most things so far this season. And just when you think they might slip up, they still stand tall and do the job. However, I think it'll be a tight one, this. So I'm going to take a 1 each draw. I'm going to go Luton Town 1, Sunderland 1. 2 to go. So what have we next? We have Millwall against Plymouth Argyle. And Plymouth Argyle, I'm sure, I've still got Wayne Rooney's words ringing in their ears following the 5-0 drubbing they had on Saturday lunchtime. I watched part of it, as I say. They were 2-0 down before they had a player sent off, which probably indicated the way the match was going for them in the second half. But I have to say, Cardiff's finishing was of the top order. You know, they won't finish to that level, I don't believe, every match. Some of the finishing was absolutely superb on a consistent basis, and they put 5 in the back of Plymouth's net. But Plymouth were poor defensively. They did allow these chances to be created quite all too easily. Millwall, as I say, ground out a 1 each draw with Derby. They've, as I said, I think last week or week before, they've put their defensive issues in check at the moment. They seem to have, they were conceding goals for fun, as we said. That's stopped. So they're now sort of got a foothold in matches for a lot longer than they were doing. So I'm going to go, they might nick this one. Plymouth aren't travelling well generally, even aside from the 5-0. Plymouth is struggling a little bit on the road. And I think down at the new Den on a Wednesday night, on a wet October night, whatever it's going to be, I think Millwall will sneak it and take a 1-0 win. Millwall 1, Plymouth Argyle 0. Last but never least, as I always say, it's Middlesbrough against Sheffield United, and a very attractive game too on paper. Middlesbrough, as I say, slipped up against Bristol City at home on Saturday. Did have chances, didn't take them. Bristol City put the ball away and held out for the match, and that's the way it goes sometimes. So they will want to try and recover themselves a little bit, but what a tough task they've got to do it against the Sheffield United side that will be very disappointed to have lost their own proud unbeaten record at the start of this season. So just that one loss that they did experience against Leeds on Saturday. So I think they will go to Middlesbrough, and I'm afraid for Middlesbrough fans, it's going to be another defeat. I think they've had 2 on the bounce. 3 on the bounce would start to ring a few bells, I think. But it's, as I say, Sheffield United, I think, are going to be at the top section of the table for most of the season. They were put away by Leeds, as I said, pretty much all over the pitch. Really, they were Leeds were better on the day. But I think to round off the programme this midweek, it will be Middlesbrough 1, Sheffield United 2. So there we have it. As I say, a quick turnaround from the weekend. We're totally focused again on this week's games across the 2 nights. I'm sure there'll be lots of thrills, spills and stories to tell when we come to the end of the week and look forward to what will then be game match 12. So things are moving along very swiftly indeed, really, because when you have a double week, it's almost like 3 matches in the space of 7 days, and it can have a big impact on the way teams are going. So, as I say, interesting fact is no team has had two wins on the trot recently in this division at the moment. So I'm sure that will be put right with the results this week. Anyway, enjoy your midweek bonus of football. We will be back again, I'm sure, to review and preview the events of the Championship. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done, or keep on pressing the like button for this wonderful channel that these guys put together. And I will, all being well, see you again towards the end of this week. We'll see what match day 11 brings. Yes, that's what's there. We are, and so I'll see you again very soon. Thanks for listening.